Let's bring in former Trump economic advisor Steve Moore. Steve, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. We've got the president
Rich.
saying that he's made hundreds of deals. This is from his Time magazine interview. He says, I've made 200 deals. They said, really? He said, yeah, 100% I have. We haven't gotten any details, Steve. How do you think he's made 200 deals? Where are the details?
I can't say whether he has or hasn't. But look, it's been choppy waters for the economy over the last couple of months in the stock market. Trump appears to be really zoning in on those deals, Rich. And I can't tell you where they stand, but I can tell you that if he starts piling up these deals with Japan, with China, with Korea, with the Canadians, it's going to be very positive for the economy. Now, listen, I'm much more of a free trade guy than Donald Trump is. I'm not a big fan of tariffs. But if he can get this behind us, and if he can get these other countries to reduce their tariffs, which is really the goal here, that would be a huge home run for the economy, for Trump politically. And then, of course, I just wrote a piece for FoxNews.com on this. If he can combine that, Rich, with getting the tax cut done, uh, maybe by the 4th of July, I think you'll see just a resounding rebound in the not only in the stock market but in the economy as well.
Yeah, Steve, the Wall Street Journal has an exclusive on the tactics that the administration is using. They say the U.S. is looking to negotiate within the framework, this new framework they've come up with 18 major trading partners on a rolling basis. There are a lot of tariffs, a lot of countries that have tariffs as part of the president's plan. Is it wishful thinking that he can get all of this done?
Probably a little bit wishful thinking, but Rich, there's really only, when you look at the global economy and our trade volume, both our imports and exports, there's really only 6 or 7 or 8 countries that really matter that much. Obviously, Mexico and Canada. A lot of people don't realize, by the way, Rich, that our biggest trading partners are Canada and Mexico, and then, of course, China and Europe and the UK. So if he can get those deals done, that's, as I said, 6 to 7 to 8 countries. The rest of the countries will probably fall in line. And even if they don't, they're not really that important to the U.S. economy. So he could get it done. That would mean lower tariffs, freer and fairer trade. It would be good for American workers. It would be good for American businesses, which are facing some tough times right now, Rich, because the supply chains have been disrupted over the last couple of months about the tariffs, and nobody knows exactly what the tariffs will be. So the sooner that this can get done, the better it will be for both investors, because we're all investors in the stock market, but also in terms of making sure that we don't swerve into a recession.
Yeah, the U.S. and China can't even agree on whether they're negotiating right now. The president says they are. The Chinese says they're not. There was a deal in the first Trump administration, a trade deal on China. They never fulfilled that deal. Why should the administration think that they can get anything productive out of China this time around?
Well, we're banking on the fact that that President Xi and the leaders in Beijing are rational. Look, we've had some tough times in our economy in the last couple of months, no question about it. But the Chinese economy is in terrible shape. Their stock market has tanked. They cannot grow. In fact, they would go into a Great Depression, Rich, if they don't have access to America's market. So Trump is using that, excuse the expression, that Trump card to force China to come to the negotiating table and to reduce not just their tariffs, but their other unfair policies, the fact that they're growing their military in an aggressive way, the fact that they cheat and steal our technology. There's so many issues we have with China. And incidentally, Rich, I was looking at your polls earlier about, how Americans feel about this issue and that issue and Trump. The one issue that almost all Americans agree on, whether they're Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, is that China is the problem. And China is a villain, and we have to be very successful in terms of tough and successful in dealing with them. I think Trump is exactly the president to do that.
We look at some of these poll numbers we got here, when it comes to the economy, the president at 38% approval on the economy, 33 at tariffs, 33 on inflation. He's obviously got a little time here. We're not even at 100 days yet, but does he have that much time to get all this done? I mean, is the window closing here to finish this?
Rich, I worked briefly for the Reagan administration, believe it or not, towards the tail end. But I remember the first couple of years of Reagan's presidency. Reagan obviously was one of our greatest presidents in history, but his first 12 or 14 months in office were tough. I mean, we had a really tough economy. We had a brutal recession as Reagan kind of rebuilt the economy from the disaster of Jimmy Carter. That's sort of what Trump is trying to do here. Now, if there was any mistake made, and by the way, I was guilty of this myself, Rich, of saying, well, as soon as Trump gets in, the economy is going to continue, could just, have an immediate positive bounce. But it's taking time to sweat out the inflation of the system, to deal with the massive debt and deficits that were built on President Biden. But I do believe if those reports are right about July 4th and getting this deal done on the taxes, and then the reports about progress on the trade, I think you will see a much, much better economy in the second half of the year.
All right, plenty at stake. Steve Moore, thanks so much.
Thanks, Rich.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.